Hey, we're live on a Wednesday at 11. Go figure.
Our brand new time slot. We hope this meets our viewers' approval. It's Scott and
Lane. And so we got really awesome topics to talk to you about. 3 of them actually today. One is how the presidential election might impact real estate. 2, we're talking about what $1 million gets you in Huntington Beach. And 3, we're also talking about 2020 kickoff for football. So really excited to get into these topics. And as always, if you're watching us live and have any questions, feel free to, post them and we'll get to them as well. If you're watching a recording and you still have questions, leave them in the comment section and we'll get to them on the next week's episode. But we're really excited about the new time slot for 11 a.m. on Wednesday for these SNL shows.
Absolutely. Hump Day is the middle of the week. Maybe you can join us make us part of your lunchtime. Again, it's always available recorded after the fact, but we're super excited about the time slot and would love your feedback as well.
Yeah. So let's dive right into it. What's the first one? How will the presidential election impact real estate? Now we get this question is being asked a lot lately as we get closer to November.
I'm getting it about 3 to 4 times a week.
See, that's a lot. That's a lot. And there's different people. There's people that are bullish. There's people that are bearish. There's people that, favor one political party and think that maybe the end of the world might come based on whoever gets elected, no matter, but there's different levels of comfort, I guess, and when we talk about this type of category. So the only thing that we can do is we can talk about what's happened in previous elections, what's happening right now in the real estate marketplace, and give you our opinions, expert opinions, if you will, on what's going to be happening or how the presidential election might impact real estate.
Terrific, Lane. Exactly. What we want to do is use statistics and facts based on past history in presidential election years and share that with you and see how that fits into your story of what your plans might be for this coming fall.
Yeah. So actually, year over year, as far as number of homes sold in general, not even talking about presidential election, we're actually going to be outpacing, experts are saying that we're actually going to be outpacing 2020 versus 2019. So there's going to be more homes sold in 2020 versus 2019. And that's crazy because we did see a significant drop off in the springtime, especially when COVID and the stay-at-home orders were in place. But all of a sudden, all of that activity got deferred into the summertime. We felt the summer heat kick up. And so now, is it going to drop off come this fall? So the question is, Scott, is there a drop off in home sales during a presidential election year, whether it's this one or past ones?
Typically speaking, we know there is a slight drop off, and I believe that is in the 5% range, but I'm going to defer to Lane on that because he's our Mr. Statistics guy and as always is uber prepared to give you the best information today. So I do know there's a drop. Lane, fill us in on exactly what that tends to be in the past.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with non-presidential years, right? So on non-presidential years, there is normally come Thanksgiving time, come November, there's normally about a 10% drop in overall sales in general. So what happens during presidential years? So normally in past presidential election years, we've seen that 10% drop increase to 15%. So we will see a little bit of a drop, and that's just basically people maybe a little bit uncertain about what's going to happen. So that 10% decrease in November compared to October in non-presidential election years goes to 15%. So yes, we probably will see the overall activity level slow down a little bit, but we're still feeling the effects of people that didn't want to sell maybe in the springtime or maybe there's people that still didn't want to sell in the summertime because of the COVID situation that it might defer a lot of those sales. So that 15% decrease that we normally see in past presidential elections might be a little bit smaller this year in 2020.
Absolutely. So as we pause there, Lane, thanks so much for that great information. It's pretty simple. I see kind of 3 things here that are in play. Number one, the normal seasonal drop off. And those are the folks that we get in midsummer, late summer that start saying, you know what, I think I'm just going to wait till after the holidays. I've been hearing that, that statement for 30 years. And that's attributing that 10%. The next 5%, what I'm hearing from you is due to folks maybe sitting on the sidelines a little bit with a little bit of an uncertainty with regards to the election. And then our wild card number 3 this year is the COVID situation. And what we do know is the pent up demand and some of the slacking off we saw in March and April has returned and exploded. So that could mitigate things.
Yeah. And chances are, if you're watching this, you're probably watching this in California. However, we do have a lot of past clients and friends and family that are out of state now. And the stats that we're giving you are national stats. And so a lot of the areas that are more seasonal, where they have harsher winters, they're actually like affected a little bit more come October, November, December, because it's a lot harder to show homes during that time too. So that drop off might be slightly higher in those areas than than there would be in like a nice coastal Orange County, California region. So so that 10 or 15% that we're seeing nationally always tends to be a little bit lower here in our area as well.
One other thought I also have, Lane, is that given our pretty much always lower level of inventory than the rest of the nation here in Orange County for the entire time that we've been in business here at the Sackin-Stone team, but especially this year and last year with the inventories being so tight, I sense that a lot of the buyers that have been looking and missing out on homes are not going to step onto the sidelines. As long as the interest rates are still in play, as long as their jobs are there, as long as the underlying factors that create home affordability are there, I think that demand is going to stay. And those folks are going to say, well, if there's a little bit of a drop off with people going onto the sidelines, I'm going to jump in, stay in the game, because I'm going to have better odds, because these are people that are missing out on multiple offers still with 3, 10, 15 offers on houses, upwards of $1 million. So the demand is there, and they're going to think, you know what, I'm going to have a bit better chance. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah. So if you're still seeing multiple offers on a lot of listings here, there's multiple people that are missing out on their homes. That means that they're probably not going to be slowing down in the fall or the winter either. They're still going to be there. So if we don't normally see multiple offers come fall or winter, but we're seeing a heavy load of extreme multiple offer situations right now, there's still going to be maybe an increase of buyers and come the end of the year, especially as we get closer to November election. So, but in recapping, Scott, really quick, past election years, the normal 10% drop goes to 15% as far as homes sold. The next question is, are those sales, that extra 5% drop, are they lost forever? Are they lost forever?
I would say absolutely not, because I think, again, what we've learned is people, they move for pain or pleasure. Most of our clients, luckily, are pleasure. They're getting on to the next chapter of their life. They're moving on to retirement homes and selling a big house. They're families that are moving up because they're wanting to get the kids in good schools and so forth. So, and then unfortunately the pain is, someone passes away, a house has to be sold. We're fortunate here in Orange County, not too many people for economic reasons are having to sell. But I think the bottom line is, I see what we've seen is people want to get on with the story of their life. They want to turn the page to the next chapter. And a little bit of a uncertainty or hiccup in the overall scheme of things, in our own experience, hasn't changed people's desire to continue to move on. They look to us as the knowledge broker, of course, to give them the facts and what we know about the local marketplace they're buying in, but they just want to continue moving on. Lane, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And when you said absolutely not, you're right in lines with Chief Economist Ali Wolf, who said that these purchases are just delayed until after the election. So very similar to how the normal spring selling season was deferred to the summer. During election years, a lot of the times that 5% drop off you see are deferred till right after the election. And she says, I'll quote, the year after a presidential election is the best of the 4-year cycle. This suggests that demand for new housing is not lost because of an election uncertainty. Rather, it gets pushed out to the following year. So expect, again, if this is the case and history repeats itself, expect a really, really hot spring market 2021.
And, one other comment I'll mention, we just came out of our annual coaching summit. A big shout out to the Tom Ferry organization and the almost 8,000 people that attended the 3-day virtual summit this past week. This echoes exactly what the experts that he had on board telling us is going to be happening. We're geared up for an amazing spring next 2021.
Yeah, and so if you're buying now and you're having a little bit of a difficult time, maybe stick with it, and hopefully things ease up for you this fall. Because if you're coming around next spring, there might be a good chance, if everything remains how it is now as far as inventory and low interest rates, it'll be a very competitive spring.
Absolutely. Once again, we don't have a crystal ball, but we do like what we love to do is go to the experts, the higher sources, get the facts, look at what's happened in the past, and use those as a guideline to forecast what we feel is probably a good chance of how the near future is going to look.
Yeah. So the last question on this topic is, will it matter who's elected? We have this could be the most contentious presidential election we've ever seen. there's a, we're a country that's divided right now, and there's a lot of emotions out there. So if no matter what party, you're voting for this election, it doesn't matter in the real estate market who's elected at the end of the day.
Well,
this is where we turn to the experts again. There's a BTIG report that suggests a change in administration might benefit trailing blue county housing dynamics, and the re-election of presidential Trump could continue to propel red county outperformance. So to some degree, it could affect who's elected, and also could affect depending on where you live. However, the bottom line is, if mortgage rates remain near all-time lows, if the economy continues to recover, if unemployment continues to decrease as it is, if the forbearance mortgages are continuing to decrease as they are, real estate markets should remain strong up to and past the election, no matter who's elected.
Thanks, Lane, for gathering those statistics. Again, these are the powers that are higher up than we are. We're down kind of on the basic lines just with all of our clients, and we know that everyone has their opinion. Everyone is listening to the talking heads on all the news channels, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, and everyone has an opinion and a thought. So we try to keep it to the statistics and to the facts.
Yeah, well, here's what we know. Let's just recap the facts, right? Here's what we know. Right now we're in a real estate marketplace that has extremely low inventory. The buyer demand is really high. Interest rates are low, and the Fed's already talked about keeping those interest rates low for a very long time. We're talking about a slight decrease normally, no matter if it's a presidential election year or not, come fall, as far as 10%, and then a little bit of an increase during presidential elections of 15%. But then historically, after the presidential elections, it's been the best year and the best months for real estate marketplace after. It's because everything gets deferred until after the election, no matter who's elected. And one thing too that I did on my own is I looked at the past two elections. We had two different presidential parties get elected on the past two elections, right? And I looked what happened the 6 months after that. And every month there was year-over-year growth and a year-over-year increase in sales and a year-over-year increase in price for both of the last two elections. So if the real estate marketplace has low demand, low interest rates, low inventory, it's probably going to be the same after the election, no matter who's elected.
And another fact and stat that we have is I went back and looked at our statistics at Sackin-Stone team over the course of the last elections. And if we look at us as a little microcosm, how many families do we help buy and sell in a given year? Our numbers have not fluctuated more than about 2 or 3 houses. Have been somewhere in the range of 60 to 80 families helped every year. That really hasn't changed no matter what the presidential election has done. So again, in our little piece of the world, among our 1,500 past clients and sphere, these people are continuing on with their plans and doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get to the next segment of the show. Yeah. And the next segment of the show we're really excited about. We're going to highlight different cities every week. And we're starting with Huntington Beach. I know, Scott, your business started there in 1988, and that's kind of the reason why we started with Huntington Beach. But overall in Orange County, at least for the month of August, the median sales price was $935,000. So we rounded to $1 million, right? And so this segment is, what does $1 million get you in Huntington Beach? And we'll move on to the next cities week after week, but we're going to start in Huntington. What does $1 million get in Huntington Beach? We looked at what's currently available on the market as of today. We're going to highlight one of the listings for you shortly, and we're going to show you what $1 million gets you in Huntington Beach, California.
And again, just to recap on that, this is going to be a recurring feature on the show, which is really titled, What Does $1 Million Get You In? So if you have a city that you'd like us to showcase, please comment and let us know. If you want to find out in your city what $1 million buys you, let us know. We definitely want input from you so we can gather the list of what we do. And Lane said we're starting in Huntington Beach because that's where I started in November of 1988. And this particular home is actually less than a mile from where my original office was on Warner and Golden West in Huntington Beach. So Lane, let's start and talk about it. It's kind of a cool house.
Yeah, cue it up.
Aha.
There we go. So right now we're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1767 square foot, single story floor plan. Has really nice mid-century modern vibes. And it's on a plus size lot for Huntington Beach of 7,380 square feet, built in 1965.
Absolutely. And there's definitely that mid-century vibe. You can see the atrium here, kind of an Eichler-ish look. Again, nod to Joseph Eichler, one of the famous architects that did a lot of properties in that mid-century time frame. We can see this home has been staged up, again, to appeal to people, make it very easy to look at. But what you can see here, which is trending now, is the open concept floor plan. Even with COVID and going back to other rooms for school, offices, what have you, we find the open concept is still very appealing, and because folks can create spaces within these rooms. So here we see a galley kitchen, a galley style kitchen. It has been upgraded and remodeled. So another tip for our viewers today is to see you can get remodeled homes with new infrastructure. I believe the roof is fairly new here and so forth. Lane can fill us in on that, but it's in great shape. It's in great shape. It's been upgraded. It's on a plus size lot, as Lane says as well. And what does plus size lot mean in Huntington Beach? Well, the average lot size in Huntington Beach is 6,000 square feet. And that typically breaks down to 60 foot in frontage and 100 foot deep. So this is a little bit larger by about 10%, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the front, there's a really long driveway. So a plus size driveway in the back. There's a really good mixed use of hardscape and landscape. So you can bring that California room or that outdoor living room out there, but then also have some grass if you do have pets. They built an alcove for workstations or home workstations or what have you now too. They're going with the modern vibes. They have the white shaker cabinets, the wood floors, the quartz counters. They went with the black trim on the windows and sliders. You're going to see maybe black as a color coming in. I'm seeing now black cabinets sometimes in kitchens and bathrooms as well. So they're really keeping up with the trend. So bottom line, $1 million in Huntington Beach gets you a nice single story detached home, modern, updated, north part of Huntington Beach on a plus size lot. So there's some really good buys out of $1 million, even though the average price home in Huntington Beach right now is inching closer to 1.2. You can, if you have $1 million max budget, there's still really good homes out there.
Absolutely, Lane. Let's see. It looks like we're looking at the hall guest bath right now, or is this the master bath?
Let's move into the next room here.
I wanted to just point out a few things of what you can get. You're generally going to get
the hall.
There we go. That faces the atrium. So it's very, very cool. But I think also to give our viewers a guideline too, Huntington Beach has over 200,000 people, and typically in real estate, it's been broken up into 4 geographic areas. This is in the area of northwest Huntington Beach, near Huntington Harbor, near Meadowlark Golf Course. This area, and then the 92646 area, which is down the coast at the other end of town, tend to be the 2 most expensive. And then, of course, downtown can be very eclectic depending how close you are to the coast. So again, average pricing. If you go a little bit further inland, say north on Golden West up towards the 405 freeway, your money is going to go a little bit further. But we felt this was a very good typical example. A bit of a premium will be paid perhaps to have a 1-story house, because most empty nesters want a 1-story house. Folks starting out would like to have a 1-story house. So again, there's always a few mitigating factors. We can up that square footage by a couple hundred square feet, depending on what type of, if you go with a 2-story, if you change things up just a little bit. But again, great job, Lane, choosing a home with works for the average today. And one other thing I want to point out is we mentioned the black trim. So many of our clients, this is even if you're not selling, but if you're going to be selling and want to create that maximum appeal for your home, and you're going to be changing out your windows at some point, consider the black trim window. You know, we're kind of following Newport Beach, Corona Del Mar, some of the upscale areas along the coast. This trend, we don't see any time slowing down soon. And we've got a great expert and a great window company that we can refer clients to if they ever wanted to do that. I'm a big fan of, not spending any more money than you have to, but staying on trend if you are going to be making upgrades. And we're seeing this as we look at these homes. Yeah,
and we want to hear your thoughts too about this particular home. Like, what do you think? What do you think? Does this seem like a reasonable home for $1 million in Huntington Beach to you? Does it seem a little expensive? Does it seem like it might be even a little bit low and you think it might go up a little higher? So definitely want to get your thoughts and opinions on what you think of this home. And if you have any, like Scott said, any design suggestions or need a referral for anybody and you want to stay in your home and make it look like this, we can help you with that too. We have all the contacts in place to help.
Yeah, we're super excited to always be the resource for that. And hopefully you like this segment. We want your feedback, good, bad, and indifferent, how we can make this segment the best and most appealing to you, because it is a brand new segment. Today is the first time we've done it, so it may not have been perfect, but we want to get there for you.
It was perfect to me. Okay, so far, Scott, we've talked about how the presidential election impacts real estate. We showed you what $1 million can get you in Huntington Beach, and now it's time to talk a little bit about football. I know it's your favorite.
Here's what I know about football. Joe Namath played football. I think Tom Brady plays football.
Still does.
And I watch football at my annual Thanksgiving get-together with my family. And that's about it. Anyone that watches me knows I love figure roller skating, and I'm still out there doing it and crashing and burning every day. But I know Lane loves football, and he's got some great stories. And let's turn it over to you, Lane.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you're excited to hear that football begins on Thursday as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Houston Texans. But yeah, we're all excited for football to start again. I'm assuming if you play in any fantasy football leagues, you're finishing up your drafts either this weekend or you're doing some last minute drafts over the next day or two. I love it. I love talking football. So if you want to, message me privately about any trades decisions that you have to make, or if you want to talk about anything, any team, any player, just message me. I love talking about it. I love talking strategy. One of the things that I want to talk to you about as far as the 2020 kickoff, because when I hear the words kickoff, it reminds me of something that happened to me a couple of years ago. I was at the first game opening day for Rams over at the Coliseum in LA. I was, luckily invited by a great friend of mine who had a corporate suite behind the end zone, and the whistle blew. They kicked the ball. It was the very first kick of the game, right? It bounces in the end zone and goes into the stands, and I come down with the football. I'm holding the football, and I jokingly run away with it down the stairs because I didn't want to give it back. And there were two security guys that were working on the field, and they came over and they were like, hey, we need the ball back. We need the ball back. We need the ball back. And so I didn't know any better. I don't attend very many live football games, but I threw the football back. And everybody around me was yelling like, "Oh, why did you do that? Why did you throw the football back? You could have kept it." But I had no idea because the security was asking for the ball back. Well, one of the managers for that suite came down and said that they have to ask for the football back, but you don't have to give it back. You can sit on it and refuse to give it back, and they'll let you keep it. So I didn't know that. To this day, they didn't even replace that ball back. They came back and gave me a bottle of wine and like a hat and some photos with the cheerleaders, but I would still rather have that ball back today. And I just want to let you know, if you ever in a position of catching a football live at a game, and if they ask for it back, you do not have to give it back. You can keep it, you can sit on it, you can refuse, and you can be luckily going home with a game ball souvenir.
Wait a minute, Lane. So I've been kind of sitting in the bleachers for this segment, but I heard cheerleaders, lap. Maybe I was snoozing a little bit, but are you saying that when they came to take the ball, the cheerleaders sat in your lap?
No, they did not sit in my lap. Did I say lap? I did not say lap.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The cheerleaders came down and like they wanted to not necessarily apologize, but they took a photo and they gave me like a little goodie bag that had a football in it, like a small one, not the game size one. They also had a bottle of wine and a hat or something like that. But I wanted the game ball back instead, and I was complaining. I saw it sitting there too, just maybe 5 feet away. And I was yelling at the referee to give me the ball because it was my ball, and they still would not give it back to me.
Man, that's one of those cool stories that you always have to remember. And probably every time you turn on the game or you start at the beginning of the season, you're reminded of that wonderful.
Every time I hear kickoff, I think of the legitimate first kickoff of the season live at a game, ball in my hands that I gave up.
I'm so glad you've had that experience, Lane, because every time I see that, I just remember being picked last for football teams in school and having the ball set down and for me to kick it and I miss it. I'm the quintessential Charlie Brown of football.
Oh no! Well, let's talk about something maybe a little bit lighter and end the show on a positive note. I don't want to think about you being picked last.
No,
when it comes to real estate, you're picked first, though, right? You're always picked first. You're the go-to guy. You've been around since 1988. Everybody wants you on their team for all their real estate needs. How about that?
You're very kind, Lane. Absolutely. And I live my football sports life vicariously through you. And that's I think that's a metaphor for our team as we close out today's show, as we wrap up. I think Lane's and we're a great group, a small group of guys and gals with complementary, yet very diverse personalities and skills. As we've just joked and talked about a little bit here, I have no interest in football. I'm lousy at it. Lane is an avid fan and is an excellent sportsman. Same with our team. Every one of us communicates a little bit differently. Everyone has a different take on a transaction. But at the end of the day, when we get together, and the beginning of every day when we have our morning huddles, again, a football metaphor, but that's what we have. We talk about each of our transactions, how we can best team up and collaborate to serve the client. And I think that's one great reason for our success and our wonderful past client ratio of repeat and referral business. And not to toot our own horn, but if we were all the same, I don't think that we'd be able to produce and serve at the level we do.
It would be kind of boring if we were all the same too. But I think on that note, that was a much better note to finish off this show. So we enjoyed talking about these topics with you today for our SNL show. We're going to be live again next Wednesday at 11 a.m. And if there are any questions that you come up with, or any comments or concerns, or anything you want to be enlightened on as far as the real estate market is concerned, just please leave it in the comment section, and we'll promise we'll get to it next week.
Absolutely. And we love these shows. They're always recorded, and we want you to tell your friends and family about them so that they can watch live, have lunch with us on Wednesdays from now on, take a break, or watch it on the weekend in the comfort of your own home. Whatever works. We just want to provide value, and we love your input and feedback. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Bye for now.
See ya.